Welcome back. All right, 8 games to talk about tonight. It's the last 8 game night we're going to have until October. Yep, there's 4 games tomorrow. There's 6 games on Thursday. So, yeah, a lot of teams are done now and waiting on playoffs. We'll start things off with a team that decided to take the first 2 periods off tonight. Boston hosting the Ottawa Senators. Wow. Forsberg versus Olmark. Pasternak's tonight from a sharp angle. The Sens have a 3-on-2 that's broken up. Greg's unable to bury one in close. The shots are 3-2 Ottawa at 5 minutes. Power play for the Sens. That gets killed off. Then there's a post for Zacha as the Bruins press. The teams exchange rushes. Sens press with 7 minutes left. We go over 8 minutes without a whistle. The shots were 9-2 for the Senators with 6 minutes left. There was over 12 minutes between shots for Boston there. The Sens go back to the power play. That's killed off as well, but there's a press by the Sens after it ends. So they outplayed Boston through a lot of that first period, but it's 0-0 after one. Second period, Sens had the early jump. Grzelcyk then has a net feed, near miss there. The Bruins just aren't getting to the net. Lauko has a rush chance that's saved. The shots are only 2-1 for Boston, 6.5 minutes in. Greg to Joseph gets blocked, and then on a net drive, Smeekle gets his first NHL goal. Brandstrom with the assist at 10:02, and then at 10:54 during a delayed call, Chychrun scores from Batherson and Tkachuk. So the Bruins are just flat in the middle of this game, and the Sens make them pay. They go up 2-0. Sens press with 5.5 minutes left. And it looked to me like the Bruins were just out of sync, weren't really focused for this game. They did press late in the period. The Senators blocked, though, and they come out of that second period with a 2-0 lead. Third period, teams exchange turnovers. Shattenkirk's denied as the Bruins press. The shots are 5-1 Boston at 3.5 minutes. I thought the Sens were back-checking pretty well. Chychrun gets dinged. He skates off the ice, needs a little help to do so. We get a power play for Boston, and they score on it. Zacha gets the goal from Shattenkirk and Pastrnak at 12:44. We then get 2 minutes of 4-on-4. The Sens press with 5 minutes left. McAvoy's robbed in close with 3:31 left. The Bruins get a power play, so they pull the goalie to make it 6-on-4. And Zub hits the empty net with the shorthanded goal at 18:12. They then finish the kill. And, the Ottawa Senators go in and beat Boston 3-1. Boston had 1 goal over their last 2 games. They finished second in the division. They did not get 1 point. All they needed was 1 point against either the Caps or the Sens. They lost both. They dropped to 47-20 and 15 with the loss. For the Ottawa Senators, 37-41 and 4 on the season. Shots on net, 11-3 Ottawa in the first, 9-7 Boston in the second, 23-2 Boston in the third. So yes, they woke up in the third, but what was that first period? Shots 35-20 for Boston. Power plays 0-2 for Ottawa. 1-2 for Boston. The hits 31-31, which also means Boston didn't score 5-on-5. Forsberg had a really good night. 34 saves on 35 shots. Olmark 17 saves on 19 shots. I do have some concerns. I understand that now Boston's going to be playing Toronto in the first round. I expect a lot of people are just going to pick Boston and say, it's the same. It's not really the big bad Bruins, though, of years past. I think that series is going to be really close, keeping in mind it always goes to 7. Toronto series just always go to 7. That's just how it works, except, of course, the second round last year. But in general, 7 games. All right, next up. And Tampa Bay, too. All right, Carolina-Columbus. This was a matchup where Carolina had 8 regulars out of the lineup. 8. Spencer Martin started against Jet Greaves. So we get a power play for the Canes. It was a 2-man on the ice call. And Del Bellouz, in his first NHL game, out of the box, scores. So he was taking he was put in the box because it was a 2-man on the ice call, so they put him in the box. He comes out and he scores. Del Bellouz gets the goal from Putia and Werenski at 3:37. Columbus looks for another, and they find it at 5:24. It's Werenski from Marchenko and Texier. He tips that one in. It's only their second shot on net. It's also their second goal. The shots are 7-2 Carolina at 6.5 minutes, and they would score. Kokaniemi gets one from Comtois and Nason at 7:10. Canes press at the half. We get a power play for Columbus. That's killed off. Marchenko's denied from the slot, and then at 18:16, TOR-FLA ties the game. Kokaniemi and Burns with the assist. So Kokaniemi with a goal and an assist in this one tonight. But at 19:01, Malatesta gets his second. He scores that one from Olivier and Corrali. It's 3-2 Columbus after one. Second period. Fost gets shaken up on a Goodbranson cross-check, so the Canes go to the power play. That's killed off. Shots are 5-2 Carolina at 6 minutes. We get a power play for Columbus. That's killed off. Canes then get a power play. They score on this one. Tara-Vinen scores this one from Burns and Nason at 10-16. It was post and in pass to screen, so Greaves had no chance there. Canes press with 8.5 minutes left, and Johnny Gaudreau would score from Danforth and Werenski at 12-18. That makes the score 4-3 in favor of Columbus after 2 periods. Third period, at 47 seconds, Nylander buries one from the side of the net. Goodbranson with the assist on that one, so that makes it 5-3. Jackets press for another. We get a power play for Carolina. That's killed off. Provorov fires one wide as Columbus has some pressure. Canes then press at 9 minutes. The shots are 9-3 for Carolina with 5 minutes left. In the last 5 minutes, they showed Jeff Rimmer's final broadcast. They showed him calling the game while still showing the footage on the ice. I wish him all the best in retirement. I know this was his last year. He's been doing this for a long time. With 3:40 left, the Canes get a power play. That's killed off. And then at 19:21, Werenski adds one. So he scores another goal. I believe he set a record for points in a season by a Columbus defenseman. Yeah, Gaudreau and Olivier with the assists. Your final score is 6-3 for Columbus over an AHL version of the Carolina Hurricanes. But hey, Columbus gets a win. They finished the season 27-43-12 with the loss. Carolina 52-23-7. It was a game that didn't matter to Carolina when the Rangers won last night. You knew that a lot of guys were going to get rested tonight. Shots on net, 16-13 Carolina in the first, 10-8 Carolina in the second, 15-4 Carolina in the third. Final shots, 41-25 Carolina. The Canes went 1 for 5 on the power play. Columbus 0 for 2. The hits, 10-9 Columbus. Spencer Martin saved 19 out of 25 at one end. Greaves saved 38 out of 41 at the other. So, a lot of goals, entertaining, and we move along. Detroit. I felt bad for Detroit tonight. I did. I'm wearing Detroit. Now, people get mad about what I'm wearing. Like, oh, you should be wearing this jersey because this was a huge win. Over the last couple weeks, I've been wearing jerseys of teams that have missed the playoffs because I'm not going to get to wear these team jerseys for reviews until October at the earliest. So Detroit, and they did fight back, and they did everything they could, and at the time that they get the 2 points, they knew what the result was. So Reimer versus Primo in this one, early press by the Habs. Montreal presses at 3 minutes as well. Wings get pinned down, they finally clear. In fact, the shots are 5-2 in favor of Detroit at 7 minutes, so they didn't allow a lot of shots there. Wings press at 7.5 minutes. Fisher has a wraparound, that's blocked, and then Newhook buries one on a 2-on-1 rush. Gallagher and Mailloux with the assists at 11:32. So that's Mailloux's first NHL point. Maybe a lot of Montreal players getting first points to end this season and to start next season, right? Wings look to respond. Armia then has a turnover chance. That's blocked. The Habs press with 5.5 minutes left. The Wings press with 2 minutes left. And then on a turnover, the Wings tie it. It's Seider from Larkin at 18:29. Seider then has a buzzer beater. That's blocked, but it's 1-1 after one. Second period, the Habs press at 2 minutes. The shots are 3-0 Montreal, 3.5 minutes in. Compher has a net feed, that's held, and then at 6:17, Gallagher scores to put Montreal ahead again. Armia and Struble with the assists. He just tips the puck in behind Reimer. And Gallagher's been hot towards the end of the season, which is good because Gallagher's had a rough year offensively. Wings press for response. The shots lower 6-2 Montreal at 8.5 minutes. At 10:09, Caulfield scores. Slavkovsky and Suzuki with the assists, but Detroit answers almost right away. At 10:44, Veleno buries a rebound. That's his first goal in a while. Gostisbehere and Sprong with the assist. Gostisbehere's had a great finish to the season, too. Wings press with 8 minutes left. The shots are 12-6 Montreal with 5.5 minutes left. With 3:42 left, the Habs get a power play. That becomes 11 seconds of 5-on-3. But in the end, everything's killed off there. So we go to the third period with the score 3-2 in favor of Montreal. 3:31 in, Sprong ties it. Veleno and Seider with the assists. And the Wings came out like they knew what was on the line here. The shots were 6-1 in their favor, 4.5 minutes in. The Wings press at 8 minutes, but eventually Montreal scores again. Slavkovsky scores from Hudson and Savard at 12:46. So Hudson with assists in back-to-back games in his first action as a Montreal Canadian. Wings press with 3 minutes left with 1:48 left. The goalie gets pulled. Things get pushy on a hold by Primo. And then after a really controversial icing call, which now doesn't really matter, but in 1956, Perron on a face-off win after that scores from Gostisbehere. So ties the game. Should it have been an icing call? No. But we go to overtime. The Wings set up. They turn it over. Larkin gets denied. Kane was denied. The Habs get a power play. That's killed off. We go to the shootout. In the shootout, Patrick Kane gets the winner. Your final score in this one's 5-4 via a shootout for the Detroit Red Wings. They go to 41, 32, and 9 with the win. With the shootout loss, Montreal 30, 36, and 16 on the season. Shots on net 17-8 for Detroit in the first, 12-8 Detroit in the first, 17-7 Montreal in the second, 19-5 Detroit in the third, and the overtime 3-2 Montreal. Final shots are 40-33 in favor of the Detroit Red Wings. Power plays, Detroit didn't have any. Montreal was 0 for 3. The hits 19-13 for Detroit. Reimer saved 29 out of 33. Primo 36 saves on 40 shots. So Primo finishes the season up pretty strong. All right, next up. Well, we knew that he was going to pull the goalie, right? All right, let's go through this. Lindgren versus Ersson. Early post for the Capitals, so they almost get the lead right away. The Caps press at 2.5 minutes. They had the only shot on net 4 minutes in because it was a Caps game. Flyers press, the Caps block. The shots are 3-0 for Washington 7 minutes in. And then an early whistle looked like it bailed out the Caps, so they review it, and they decide, no, it's not a continuation play for that puck to go in the net. Flyer fans disagreed vehemently with that call. So the referee sucks. We end up with a power play for Philly. It sucks. So did it score? No, but it had 2 shots, and that's the only power play Philadelphia had tonight. Shots are 5-4 Flyers with 7 minutes left at 18:08. Ovechkin deflects one in. McElrath and Oshie with the assist. They looked at it to see if it was a high stick. It was not a high stick. So that makes it 1-0 for Washington after 1. Second period, Caps press. They're kept to the outside. They had the only shot on net 4.5 minutes in. It's a Caps game. Shots are 1 apiece at 8 minutes because it's a Caps game. The shots were 8 apiece in total 30 minutes into the game. So, yep. Flyers press, and then they score. Johnson deflects one in. Zamula and Couturier with the assists at 12:29. Ties the game at 1. Forrester fires one high in a rush. Lawton has a slapper. That saved. The fans are calling penalties. The referee's not, so he sucks. Forrester has a last-minute shot that's blocked. It's 1-1 after 2. Third period. Caps press at 1.5 minutes. Both teams are blocking a lot at this point. The Flyers press at 4 minutes. The shots are 3-1 for the Flyers at 6.5 minutes. The Flyers press. They're kept to the outside. The teams exchange turnovers. The Caps press with 7.5 minutes left. Eventually, Philadelphia pulls the goalie because they needed to win in regulation, was what they needed. But they also needed a point, something here. And Oshie would hit the empty net from Dowd at 17 minutes. So now the Flyers had to pull the goalie again. Couturier has a shot that's held. The Caps guilty of an icing with 30.2 seconds left. But yeah, it's 2-1 for Washington, and this game went final before this one. So Detroit knew when they were doing the shootout that it was over. They weren't going to make the playoffs. Washington goes to 40, 31, and 11 on the season. They make the playoffs. That's it. Pittsburgh's eliminated. Everybody is. It's just Washington now. Philadelphia obviously eliminated 38, 33, and 11. After the game, Torts not talking a lot about what happened, just saying he was really proud of his players. They didn't give up. Shots on net, 7 apiece in the first, 8-5 Philly in the second, 13-6 Philly in the third. Final shots, 28-18 for the Flyers. Power plays, Washington didn't have any. The Flyers 0 for 1. The hits, 38-28 for the Flyers. Lindgren saved 27 out of 28. Ersson, 16 out of 17. And now the Capitals will play the Rangers in the first round of the playoffs in a very huge contrast of styles. Should be quite interesting. Now, I need to change boards. All right, now, if Toronto had won today over Florida, well, Boston would have won the division. They don't. So what we have is Toronto's going to play Boston, and Tampa is playing Florida. That's right. The Battle of Florida in the first round should be fun. So it's Wall versus Stolars. Marner has a rush chance that's held. The Leafs press at 3 minutes. There's a power play for Toronto, and they score on it. At 3:25, Marner scores from Riley and Nylander. The Leafs press for another. The shots were 7-2 Toronto at 5 minutes. There's a near miss for Matthews. Every time he touched the puck, there was oohs and ahs. Things get pushy at the bench. There's some unfriendliness. Panthers come out of that with a power play. That's killed off. 2 shots. The Leafs press at 9 minutes. Matthews passes to Tkachuk. Don't do that. Generally, don't pass to the other team. Wall bails him out there. Gregor then scores on assist at 11:18. We get a power play for the Leafs after that. That's killed off. 3:16 left. The Panthers come out with a power play. That's killed off as well, so it's 2-0 Toronto after 1. But early in the second period, Verhaeghe scores from Bennett at Tkachuk at 29 seconds, and then they just swarmed from there. The Panthers look to tie it. The Leafs would press at 3 minutes, but the Panthers get a power play. Things get punchy on a hold by Woll. We get 13 seconds of 5-on-3. Game was chippy, and it was a rough one. Tkachuk has a shot that's kicked aside. They end up killing off the 5-on-3. 5 total shots for the Panthers for the overlapping power plays. The shots are 14-2 for the Panthers at 9 minutes. And at 10:32, Bennett deflects one in. Forsling and Tkachuk with the assists at 10:42 on a rush. Reinhart buries a rebound. Barkov and Mikkola with the assists. And then at 13:42, Montour makes it 4-2. Barkov and Tarasenko with the assists. And the shots were 22-3 for Florida with 5 minutes left. With 2:38 left, the Florida Panthers get a power play. That's killed off. But what an absolutely miserably awful period by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Third period, early power play for the Panthers. That's killed off. Shots are 2 apiece at 4 minutes. We get a power play for Toronto. It's killed off as well. Bennett with a wraparound. That's saved. We get a power play for Toronto. That's killed off. And this is where I had to put it on the board. The chase for 70 goals. The obsession with trying to set up Matthews and everybody watching Matthews. I really think it's distracting the Leafs at this point. I do. They'd pull the goalie, and at 17:40, Reinhart scores from Luostarinen. They pulled the goalie again with 44.4 seconds left to get 6-on-4. All it was to try to get Matthews that goal. So they lose this one 5-2, in part because they were trying to force it, which Florida's fine with. They now are first in the division. They get Tampa Bay in the first round. And there will be those Bruins fans who say, well, Boston intentionally played like crap for the last 2 games because they'd rather play Toronto than Tampa Bay. All right, sure. So Florida goes to 52-24-6. The Maple Leafs 46-25-10. They have one final chance against Tampa Bay where they can get the 70th goal. As far as I'm concerned, since that game doesn't mean anything anymore, you just have Cooper and Keefe talk it out before the game and say, look, you let Kucherov get the 100th assist, we'll let Matthews get the 70th goal. They shake on it, and there you go. Shots on net, 14-6 Toronto in the first, 29-4 Florida in the second, 8-7 Toronto in the third. Final shots, 42-26 Florida. I was kind of beside myself tonight at how some teams just didn't seem to have any interest in where they finish in the playoffs. Power plays, 1 for 5 for Toronto, 0 for 6 for Florida. Not that Toronto could have moved up, but the obsession with getting that 70th. Hits 45-38 for Florida. Woll saves 37 out of 41. Stolarz saved 24-26. Lost in the midst of everything, Anthony Stolarz has another good game. Florida's regular season's now done. They're waiting for the playoffs. All right, moving along. Seattle and Winnipeg. So this was a tough one. Winnipeg, it was close. So it's Grubauer versus Hellebuck. The shots are 2-0 Jets at 3.5 minutes. The next 3 shots were by Seattle. We get a power play for the Jets. That's killed off. 1 shot. Scheifele to Velarde. There's a near miss there. And then Connor buries one in close. Scheifele and Morrissey with the assists at 10:33. McCann has a net feed that's picked off. The Jets press at 4.5 minutes. With 4.5 minutes left, I should say, at 18:38, Tatar ties the score. He buries one through a screen on a rush. Belmar and Tanev with the assists at 19:54. Kyle Connor answers. He scores from Morrissey and Scheifele. So Scheifele with a couple of helpers in the first period. Same with Morrissey and Connor with both goals. It's 2-1 Winnipeg after 1. Second period. Belmar's denied from the slot, and then at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, Ehlers scores from Toffoli, but Seattle would answer. During a brief press, Gord tips one in at 5 minutes and 11 seconds. Evans and Tanev with the assists. Jets press at 8 minutes. The shots are 7-5 for the Jets at the half. We get a power play for Seattle. That's killed off. Jets press with 3 minutes left at 18:13. Cartier ties the game from Yanni Gord. It's 3-3 after 2. Remember, all Winnipeg needed was a point tonight to guarantee they finish ahead of Colorado and host them to start the playoff series. Third period, Tatar fires one wide on a rush. Cartier's denied on the next rush. Seattle presses at 3 minutes. Lowry to Iafallo. There's a near miss there. The Kraken press at 4.5 minutes. There's some more near misses. Lowry has a rush that's defended. Toffoli has a one-timer that's sticked aside. Ehlers has a wraparound that saved. The Jets end up drawing a power play, and they score on it. It's Toffoli from Ehlers and Pionk at 11 minutes and 40 seconds. The Jets go back to the power play. It's a 4-minute power play. Monahan to Velarde. There's a near miss there. That 4 minutes is killed off. Jets press with a minute and a half left. They pull the goalie, do the Kraken, and they go offside on the rush. So just a little bit off. I think the goalie pull happened 3 times in those last few minutes. But Winnipeg holds on. They win 4-3. They go to 51-24-6 with the win. With the loss, Seattle 33, 35, and 13. Winnipeg finishes their season on Thursday with a home game against Vancouver. That doesn't mean anything to Winnipeg. It may mean something to Vancouver. We'll talk about that when we get there. Shots on net in this one, 8-6 Seattle in the first, 11-7 or 11-9 Winnipeg in the second, 7-6 Winnipeg in the third. Final shots 24-23 for the Jets. Power play, Seattle 0 for 1, Winnipeg 1 for 4. The hits 34-22 Seattle. Grubauer saved 20 out of 24. Hellebuck saves 20 out of 23. So overall, not bad. Winnipeg gets the win. They end up with home ice. No harm, no foul. And Seattle didn't look bad tonight either. So there's that. All right, next up. Chicago and Vegas. So lots of Vegas injuries. Lots of players out. It was Mrazek versus Thompson. But yeah, Vegas is weakened at this point. Yes, everybody's expected to be back for the playoffs. But what shape are they going to be in? So the shots are 2-0 Vegas at 3 minutes. Things get pushed in a hold by Thompson. The Hawks press at 4.5 minutes. The shots are 3 apiece, 7 minutes in. 6 straight shots for Chicago, too. Like, Chicago was getting some opportunities here. Vegas presses at 9.5 minutes, but they take an offensive zone penalty. Bedard to Kurashev gets blocked. The power play gets killed off. No shots on net for Chicago. Eichel has a screen shot. That's held. Howden's denied on a rush. Foligno has a tip shot that's held. Theodore has a rush chance that's held. It's 0-0 after 1, in large part because both goalies were sharp in this one. Second period, early press by Vegas. The shots are 5-2 in favor of the Golden Knights 6 minutes in. Nazar has a fast break. That's defended. There's a near miss for Waugh as Vegas presses. Mrazek has a pad issue that causes a delay, but, I mean, it's fine with the players. Power play for Vegas. Dorofiev's denied. The power play's killed off. 3 shots during that. Nazar to Donato gets picked off. The shots are 9-4 for Vegas with 5.5 minutes left. Vegas presses with 5 minutes left. Eventually, they get on the board first. At 16:25, Braden McNabb scores from Hertl and Dorofeev. The Hawks press to respond, but it's 1-0 Vegas after 2. Third period, Dorofeev fires one wide as Vegas presses. Murphy then has a chance. That's held. Hawks press at 4 minutes. Nazar fires one wide on a rush. That kid, once he's got it figured out, and he starts putting the puck in the net next season, he's going to be pretty good. Then Amadio scores to make it 2-0 at 7:13. Ronbjerg has a net drive that's held not long after. Reichel can't bury one in close. There's a crossbar for Dorofeev. The horn sounded, and everybody celebrated, and there was the smoke. The goal celebration in Vegas can be a little bit over the top, especially when it's a crossbar. So that didn't count. Shots are 7 apiece at that. I absolutely loved how the fans booed, though, when the referee said it was a crossbar. It wasn't a goal. What do you want? Well, I'm saying, you know what? Fans are so excited. It's a goal. Go ahead, take it. Go home. Have you silly scamps. Anyways, Vegas presses with 8 minutes left. At 16:02, Chicago makes it close. And Dickinson buries one in from in close. Bedard and Kurashev with the assists. Barbashev's then denied as Vegas presses. Chicago would pull the goalie. Nick Waugh hits the empty net. Howden and Eichel with the assists at 18:24. That makes your final score 3-1 for Vegas. They go to 45-28-8 with the win, and they can still finish third. It could be Edmonton and Vegas in the first round. If Vegas wins their last game, which is against Anaheim, they could play Edmonton in the first round. Chicago 23-53-5 with the loss. So for people who are concerned that it's the same first round matchups, not really. So shots on net, 11-6 Vegas in the first, 10-5 Vegas in the second, 14-11 Vegas in the third. Final shots 35-24 for the Golden Knights. Even though they were shorthanded, you knew they were still better than Chicago. Power plays, both teams go for 1. The hits 23-20 for Chicago. Mrazek did everything he could. 32 saves on 34 shots. Thompson was pretty good himself. 23 saves on 24 shots. All right, so for Vancouver, a point tonight gets them the division. Because they get 2 points, now they're going to be keeping an eye on Dallas. Because if Dallas loses their last game and Vancouver wins their last game, Vancouver wins the West. So it's Markstrom versus Demko. And I could not have been happier to see Demko in the net. And I got the feeling the Canucks were happy to see him back in the net too. Because this team tonight, this looked like the team that they had in the first half of the season. So the Canucks press at 2 minutes. The shots are 3-0 Vancouver, 3.5 minutes in. The Flames then press, are kept to the outside. There's more pressure by the Flames 9 minutes into the period. Things get pushed in a hole by Markstrom. Shots are 8-5 Vancouver halfway through the period. The Flames draw a power play, and during that, Tyler Myers with a shorthanded goal. Bluger and Lindholm with the assists at 12 minutes. So there's Lindholm on the board with an assist against his former team. The Canucks then finish the kill, and then at 13:27, a nice tic-tac-toe play. Höglander with his 24th. Pedersen and Mikheyev with the assists. So there's Pedersen with, I think that's 86 points for him this year. Canucks press with 4.5 minutes left. The Flames then get some pressure with 2 minutes left, but it's 2-0 Vancouver after 1. Second period, early press by the Canucks. And on a 2-on-1 rush, Joshua wires one. That's his 18th. I'd love to see him get 2 goals against Winnipeg. I'd love to see him get 20. Garland and Myers with the assists of 157. So Connor Garland with 13 points in his last 13 games. Pospisil's denied as the Flames press. The shots are 5-2 Calgary at 5 minutes. Canucks press at 7.5 minutes. Weegar has a net drive that gets blocked. 2 minutes of 4-on-4. Initially, it looked like it was going to be a power play. The Canucks press with 7.5 minutes left. The shots are 10-8 Flames with 5 minutes left. Things get brawly with 3:20 left. The Flames come out of that with a power play. Initially, they called 5 minutes. It was clear it wasn't going to be 5 minutes. It was a cross-check, but when a player throws his head back, you think it's to the face. It didn't hit him in the face. So that's killed off, and it's killed off because Thatcher Demko is back. So it's 3-0 Vancouver after 2. Third period, the Flames press at a minute and a half. Kuzmenko's denied and close. Shots are 3-0 Flames at 2.5 minutes. Hughes prevents a Flames goal. He pulls it off the goal line. Quinn Hughes, MVP vibes from him in terms of Vancouver MVP anyways. I'm not throwing it. I've seen him mentioned when it comes to Hart. I'm not there. I don't see him as being as much of a Hart candidate as others. Only because I think you can make an argument for JT Miller as your MVP, and you can make an argument for Demko at times as well. So that's the thing. Anyways, Joshua's denied on a 3-on-1 rush. Hunt has a shot that's caught and held. We get a power play for the Canucks. There's a shorthanded chance for Sharangovich that's held. That power play's killed off. But not long after, at 10:56, Pahal fires one past a screen to get Calgary on the board. Kadri and Solovyov with the assists there. The Flames press for another. The shots are 12-4 for Calgary with 7 minutes left, and then it's a turnover. Suter gets it to Miller. Miller buries it at 15:02. JT Miller continues to have an insane season. With 1:16 left, the Canucks get a power play, so that runs out the clock. They win 4-1. That's their 50th win. Their first time they've been to 50 wins since they won the President's Trophy back in 2012. 50-22-9 is the record for the Vancouver Canucks. 37-39-5, the record for the Flames. Shots on net, 12-9 Vancouver the first, 15-10 Calgary in the second, 16-9 Calgary in the third. Final shots, 40-31 for the Flames. Both teams go 0 for 2 on the power play. Hits, 26-17 Vancouver. Markstrom, 27 saves on 31 shots. Demko, he is back. 39 saves on 40 shots. What a difference having Demko back makes. No insult meant to Shelovs, no insult meant to Demko or to DeSmith, but with Demko back, what a huge difference. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.